Well, we want to stay with this story and take a closer look, especially at Oakland, California. 25 people were arrested there yesterday. There were several clashes between protesters and police. Now, in many ways, Oakland has been sort of one of the centers of this movement, especially when we talk about harsh measures taken by police. You may remember U.S. Marine veteran Scott Olson, seen here. He was critically injured, hospitalized for days after being hit by a tear gas canister shot out by police. Now, I want to talk about the Occupy movement since then and bring in Occupy Oakland activist Laura Long. Laura, start off just by describing to me what you saw yesterday, what went down in Oakland during the May Day events.
Well, a lot happened yesterday. Where to begin? Things started very early. We sent busloads of people to support union workers in their strike against the Golden Gate Bridge Labor Coalition. So we sent people out all over the place to support unions, and we also organized marches and pickets around downtown. Police began being very aggressive very early in the day. I saw police use a utility vehicle to attack a crowd of protesters. That happened early on, and the video has been all over the place in the U.S. today of police running into crowds of people and knocking them to the ground, knocking a young woman off her bicycle. A friend of mine hit her head after being pushed off her bicycle, had to go to the hospital with 19 stitches.
Now, what danger was she on her bicycle that she needed to be pushed off her bicycle?
I think the danger was being around police, honestly. Oftentimes in Oakland, it seems that the most violent situations happen after police intervention. So I wish I had a better answer, but that's all I can say.
And speaking of some of the things that you saw, I want to put up a photo. This was taken yesterday in Oakland. Not sure if you saw it. A sheriff's vehicle. It looks to me more like a tank. I want to know, what were these armored vehicles, I think they're called Blackwater Grizzlies, all about?
Yesterday I had no idea. Doing some research, we found out that the Oakland Police Department or Alameda County, whoever owns that vehicle in particular, bought it for a little over $300,000. It's a vehicle designed for urban warfare to withstand IEDs and projectiles that could be thrown. Unfortunately, I haven't seen that in use at I haven't seen IEDs or anything, any sort of explosive at any Occupy protest in Oakland, so not sure why they needed it yesterday, but
so interesting. It must be the county, because it says sheriff on the outside. You say urban warfare. That's what these tanks are used for. Just really interesting, because if you think about people coming out of a baseball game after a tough loss, sometimes people get a lot more rowdy than they got yesterday, and yet this is this type of stuff we're seeing. What do you think this means?
From what I saw, both with the types of weaponry and types of defense mechanisms that the police had yesterday, in addition to the tactics that they used, targeting individuals and snatching individuals out of crowds, a situation that frankly terrifies a lot of people who may have had nothing to do with any sort of lawless act. They're trying to instill fear and convince people that it's not worth coming out because they're in so much danger.
And yet, if you look historically at what has made more and more people come out, it's when, for example, where you are in Oakland after the, injuring of Scott Olson. That brought so many people out. It's after 700 people were on the Brooklyn Bridge in New York and so many got arrested. It's after people saw police use pepper spray in people's faces. That's what's getting the masses to come out. So you'd think that maybe the police would learn from that. I should say, though, a federal judge yesterday in the city of Oakland ordered the city and its police force to submit a plan on how they might change some of these harsh tactics that have been used. The judge said, if they don't do that, if they don't submit this plan, the police force could face sanctions. I'm wondering what you think, Laura. I mean, is this a first step to bringing about change?
Unfortunately, we're actually towards one of the last steps before a whole new situation. The Oakland Police Department has been under threat of federal receivership for almost a decade. In 2003, there was a case where Basically, it was determined that there was systemic brutality by the police against communities of color in Oakland. A lot of cases involved planting evidence and falsifying reports in addition to excessive force. So we may actually be at the end of the line before federal takeover.
Wow, that's interesting. I did hear about that case about evidence being planted by police. So interesting when you think about, what could drive people to that. Let me ask you this. As this struggle continues for workers' rights, yesterday May Day, of course, first started as to bring attention to a change in the system that's needed in terms of labor. I'm wondering what you can tell us we can expect next in terms of Occupy.
In terms of, I can't speak for Occupy as a whole, but what I saw yesterday was a lot of smaller events taking place all over. So we had unions who had been re-energized, who may not have celebrated May Day for years, taking serious actions. And we also had autonomous groups, small groups who made connections through Occupy, set up their own protests, marches, and pickets, and that sort of thing. And I think if there's anything to expect, it's a lot more daily organizing, which I don't think any of the communities involved in Occupy have seen for a long time. So I think it's going to be a lot smaller and a lot more regular events in communities. I'm excited about it.
It's really interesting when you think about it, Laura. I mean, a lot of people that I saw out at the Occupy DC event yesterday for May Day, that we saw in New York, that we saw in Oakland, this is a generation of people, an entire generation of people who are angry in part because they will not have the opportunity to live as well as their parents. This is a shift because mostly, our parents lived better than their parents who lived better than their parents. This is a shift, a marked change. People are angry. I'm wondering if you think, though, that, after, they dye their hair blue and paint their bodies purple and sleep in the park, do you think these people will just sort of in the next few decades be the ones who occupy Congress, meaning they're members of Congress? What do you think?
I think one of the beautiful things, and for the record, I never dyed my hair blue or painted my body purple, but one of the beautiful things is the variety of people that have come together through Occupy, and also the various ways that they have decided to take action. And so I know a few people within Occupy Oakland who are interested in running for city council, running for mayor. And I know people who have no interest in that and want to continue doing daily organizing on a very small, like a very local, very personal level. And so we'll see both of those things happen. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to someone on the show today who is actually running for Congress in New York. So it should be interesting what happens. Laura Long, Occupy Oakland activist. Appreciate having you on the show tonight.
Thank you.